If you don't got no pain, you ain't nothing.
I agree. I agree. I think everybody develops their wisdom through the negative things, not necessarily the positive things that we go through. So I agree. But I think that I see you like y'all seen John Wick, right? Y'all remember the guy who kind of was like pretty much the king of the homeless people, the king of the underworld. Like, I think that, like, I'm not saying that you're him, but like he took what he had and he made a kingdom from it. And I see that as you. Like, you're actually intelligent, but I think it's based on your disposition that you kind of like, you're taking the stuff that you went through and you're making it like, yo, this is what you should do, because you have the intelligence to be able to make that argument, even though it's nonsense, but you have the intelligence to make the argument. So,
and then can I just ask Jay? He said that you're raising your 3 children by yourself as a single father.
Yeah, I'm raising 3 daughters by myself.
So you being, I'm just trying to put what your theory to the test. Are you going to be able to effectively raise them?
It's subjective. I'm gonna raise them to the point where they only gonna be qualified. Only the niggas out the ghetto gonna be the only ones that can handle them. The nerds and truth table them, because they're gonna be so relying on themselves. They're gonna be so independent.
So, but are you going to be able to teach them every aspect of being a whole a human, a fully sustainable human, be able to thrive and be successful? Are you able to teach them that?
I'm teaching them to be their motherfucking self. All of this striving and stuff, trying to add up to other people qualifiers and all that bullshit ass stuff. I'm teaching them to be themselves.
Maybe thrive. Are you able to teach them self-sufficiency, to be able to have their own household, raise their own children effectively, to love them, to care for them, and be able to teach them things? I mean, AKA thrive.
So what I'm teaching them is, first you try to hustle for yourself. Push come to shove, you go to the welfare at the end of the day, just like I did.
Okay. All right.
Resources don't matter how it come, right?
Teach them to be a statistic.
Well, I think that everybody else don't have a problem with the Mexicans and every other people getting those.
We're not worried about everybody else. We're just worried about right now.
Well, we need to worry about everybody else, because y'all try to have a different standard for black people that's already disadvantaged, but you don't have that same smoke for everybody else that's so-called doing better. So if you're not concerned about it that across the board, don't come to no motherfucking black person telling them what the fuck they came to be doing and try to add up to stuff that you already know they've been put in a disposition than any other race, including your race is better than black folks. Is you cool?
Oh, you're talking about me personally?
I'm saying in general.
Oh, okay.
Stop trying to tell black people how they should live, and it's fuck the white man stats. That stats, do them stats exist in our real world?
Well, we
hell motherfucking no.
We actually have to pay bills and survive.
Let the government do that. They've been using us. We picked cotton for 400 years and don't get no type of recognition, no type of nothing back. Let them. Okay. They use the black folks. We gonna use them. Period.
You know, JP, I think it's a shame, because I see the potential. I see your potential. I really do. Like, I see that you being able to make these arguments that are counter to the way that everybody else sees the world, and you being able to even a small degree substantiate them. You have potential. Like, your brain works. Like, you have a motor in there that actually, it works. I see your potential, but I think that most of your perspectives come from it's a defense mechanism. I don't know what you went through in life, but I think that you've developed them because
that's what made me aware. I think my upbringing made me like this. You know what made me great? It wasn't the positive shit that happened to me. The positive shit gave me my prosperities where, okay, you got some money, woo out the bam, you get celebrated, woo out the bam. What built my character is the negative. It's the stuff that I overcame. That's how I got my wisdom. You don't get wisdom when everything is positive. Mm-hmm. I got my wisdom in my wisdom, my character, my personality for overcoming shit. And that's what made me great. That's what created the J. Prince for president of United Negro Nation of the Black House. Not no positive shit with 2 daddies. I mean, a mama and daddy woo out the bell. It was my pain and my struggle that made me great. This is why rappers is great. This is why comedians is great. They shine through their pain. If you don't got no pain, you ain't nothing.
I agree. I agree. I think everybody develops their wisdom through the negative things, not necessarily the positive things that we go through. So I agree. But I think that I see you like y'all seen John Wick, right? Y'all remember the guy who kind of was like the pretty much the king of the homeless people, the king of the underworld. Like, I think that, like, I'm not saying that you're him, but like he took what he had and he made a kingdom from it. And I see that as you. Like, you're actually intelligent, but I think it's based on your disposition that you kind of like, you trying to like, you're taking the stuff that you went through and you're making it like, yo, this is what you should do, because you have the intelligence to be able to make that argument, even though it's nonsense, but you have the intelligence to make the argument.
So JR,
by
to
me,
answer
by my
your
life
question,
experience.
The couple with absence, right? So in my opinion, I think it is coping. So what ends up happening is, when you like, innovation comes from a lack, or you, like I said earlier, you can get a LeBron out of a traumatic situation, or a single parent overcompensating and trying to create something. While I do believe that that's true for the like the extreme cases of success or the extreme cases, I think the general public is gonna be more detrimental, because for every one LeBron that I know a gang of Raynell Strongs or Gerald Strong, two cousins, same situation, both got killed within 2 years. I know a gang of people that ended up in jail in real messed up situations. So it can produce like trauma and pain can produce a diamond for sure, but it also can destroy a whole lot of other people before it get to that point. And I wouldn't prescribe to put people in that situation, because like I said, the people I've seen whose life was negatively affected with one parent or no parent for real, it was much worse than the people who was in the 2-parent homes. The people that was in 2-parent homes, those fuck ups is just kind of fuck ups. They just they not really like, it's not noteworthy. They just they just ain't on shit. The ones that turned out that way. But the single parent and no parents, that shit was like dramatic. And I do think it's something too, finding trauma or using your pain as a like a rubber band to success. The problem with that is, because I did it with my life, right? The problem with that is, once you no longer have trauma or your life gets so good, that same motivation goes away because you're not in pain the same way. Then you got to try and reformat your brain to find other metrics. But if you could have but if I could have had that same transmuting of energy from positivity, that I could have just kept stacking on there with unlimited motivation. Because once my life got great, the motivation to do the same stuff, it just wasn't the same no more. And I think that's a negative of that. I'm currently in the process of chasing positivity and finding a way to make that be the thing that propels me. But pain, it's a great catalyst. But when things get better, like much better, then you kind of just sitting there like, all right, man, everything good.
Marcus, can I ask you a question? Do you think that life's supposed to be like a battery? Because if you paid attention to, everything runs off a negative and a positive. And do you think that we supposed to have, because just think, if life was just 100% positive, we won't know negative. So the negative make you appreciate the positive. Without the negative, you won't have no appreciation. You won't have no knowledge. You really won't need no wisdom, because everything is so positive and hanky-danky. Right? The negative, do you think the negative is really negative? Do you think the negative is really how you that you gain your strength, your knowledge, your understanding about life? Do you think that you get that more from the negative or positive?
I think you get more wisdom and gain those things from the perspective I have now through negative interactions. But the point I was making is, if you could have gotten, if I say I was raised with a present father who was there guiding me through every step of the way, I could have potentially had the same type of wisdom with the same type of life experience, but even more motivation, because I'm striving for something other than to remove the pain. So I think you hit you could become burnt out using pain and trauma as your source of energy for everything. And I just don't like, from a perspective of life, once life gets better, then what? Like, a lot of people don't really explain that once trauma is no longer your catalyst, what is the thing that motivates you from there? And as somebody that's like coming, understanding that, I'm trying with my children right now to figure out creative or innovative ways to create that same type of springboard without them actually having to experience the trauma that I went through. And I'm not quite sure exactly how to do it. I'm playing with different ways and different measures, but I do think that it could be a negative from not having any negativity in your life or any setbacks. So maybe creating adversarial scenarios that don't leave traumatic scars over your entire life. You know what I'm saying? That's my goal, to create adversarial so they can experience a controlled version of negativity that has no long-term permanent effects, where they just have completely different ideologies. Like with me, I believe everything is life or death, every scenario. I'm not going to engage in this because it's probably going to end up with me killing somebody or them getting killed. So I take it to the far extreme with every scenario in my head, as opposed to somebody that can have a healthy medium and range. So like that's not a beneficial way to look at everything, because it puts you back in a survival mode with every scenario you in, and that again can burn you out. It can. So I don't want that for them, but I don't want them to be soft. I don't want them not to be able to persevere through negativity, but I don't also want them to have PTSD. I don't want them to not be able to sleep. I don't want them to deal with trauma, you know.
One last question, if that's okay. One last question.
Prince, I got a question for you too. So,
okay, is love completely positive and is negative if it's hate? Is love completely positive, or is fear completely a negative?
I think fear can save your life. Fear is healthy. Fear can be a motivator, and I think love can be toxic and all those things. So it can run a gambit too. Love can be interpreted the wrong way, but the majority, the 89%, 90% of love is going to be positive. That 10% can be a negative, and fear, you know, it can be destabilizing. It can keep you in a permanent position.
I lost 6 members in my family because they grew up with people that they love, and the people that they love is the one that deleted them.